Hello, Nativity Bible Heads. It is Dr. Wayne coming at you with your Sunday morning Power Bible Study. How's everybody doing today? You know, have you ever heard people say, as a defense for their actions or somebody else's actions, and they'll say, well, it's in the Bible. Genesis 29 tells us a story of Jacob and the way he procured 2 wives. Jacob hadn't gone away from his family to procure 2 wives. He went to procure 1 wife. But he ends up with 2. Remember, whenever we're dealing with a story about Jacob, Jacob is ostensibly a trickster, right? He was a trickster in the womb. How? Remember, he was the second twin, but he was grasping at Esau, his elder brother's heel, and he ended up cheating him out of his Esau's birthright, and then he ended up getting the fatherly blessing at the end of Isaac's life. But once the blessing is given, even though it was the wrong guy, that's what happened. Well, remember when? So after that happened, Rebekah feared for Jacob's life, sent him to her family up in Haran, which is the ancient site of the Arameans, that's where Abraham had come from. And last week we had that story where Jacob's on his way north, and he had that he used that rock for a pillow, and he had that dream of the staircase, the stairs, the ladder to heaven with angels ascending and descending. And today's story continues after he had that rock and he poured oil on it and said, this is the house of God, Bethel. Chapter 29 of Genesis, verse 1. Then Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in the field and 3 flocks of sheep lying there beside it. For out of that well the flocks were watered. The stone on the well's mouth was large. And when all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep and put the stone back in its place on the mouth of the well. So there's a lot of comedy in this, and it might not necessarily be the kind of comedy that's like, it's not like Ronan Martin's Laugh-In. Yeah, that's a dated reference, right? Or it's not like a Saturday Night Live skit. But it's being set up so that there's humor. Notice that the flocks of sheep, notice they're just lying there beside the well. They're not drinking from the well. Why? Because there's a big rock covering the thing, and it takes shepherds, a lot of guys got to remove the sheep. Don't just remove the rock. So that's why the flocks were just sitting there waiting, right? And Jacob said to them, verse 4, Genesis 29, Jacob said to them, "My brothers, where do you come from?" And they said, "We are from Haran." He said to them, "Do you know Laban, son of Nahor?" They said, "We do." He said to them, "Is it well with him?" "Yes," they replied. "Oh, and by the way, look over yonder. Here is his daughter Rachel coming with the sheep." He said, "Look, it is still broad daylight. It is not time for the animals to be gathered together. Water the sheep and go pasture them." But they said, "We cannot. until all the flocks are gathered together and the stone is rolled from the mouth of the well. Then we water the sheep. What Jacob is illustrating here is that he's like saying, why aren't you watering them exactly? Oh, because you've got to have a lot of guys. It takes a lot of guys to move that rock from the water well, because you got to have all the flocks gathered, and we don't have all the flocks gathered, which means we don't have enough shepherds. It's like a 7-man job, I don't know, something like that. Look at this in verse 9. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. Interesting. There was a famous king in Israel's history who also started out as a shepherd. Yeah, you got it. That's right, David. Just a little bit of a, put that in your famous shepherds in the Bible category for Jeopardy. Rachel was one of those. Now, verse 10. I'm in Genesis 29. By the way, I'm taking the whole chapter because I think it sets up the reading that we had. I think it sets up the reading that we had in for our worship today, because it doesn't actually begin until verse 15. But I think it's important that we get the context. But then that's not surprising, right? So, where did we stop? Verse 9. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. Now when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of his mother's brother Laban, so what does that make her when she is the daughter of your mother? That's right, your first cousin. That's right. But it's in the Bible. And the sheep of his mother's brother Laban, Jacob went up and rolled the stone from the well's mouth. Arrgh, we don't need all those shepherds. I will move the stone myself. Arrgh. And so Jacob, superhuman strength, does it all by himself. This is a hyperbole. It's a way of showing he's a heroic figure. So of course he's going to have superhuman strength. He's a trickster, but dude must be ripped. I don't know. He's very strong man. What happened? Oh, after he does that, he watered the flock. Oh, then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud. He's like, "Arrgh, I found me mate." I don't know why I'm doing Jacob as a pirate. Verse 12. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. She's like, oh, this could be it for me. Good, right? Verse 13. When Laban heard the news about his sister's son, Jacob, his nephew, he ran to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he stayed with him a month. So basically saying, I don't know, like you don't have papers. You don't necessarily have, proof. Who carries proof that you're somebody's relative, right? You just tell the stories. And that's what he did. All right. So now we come to verse 15. Then Laban said to Jacob, because you are my kinsman, should you therefore serve me for nothing? He's basically saying, let's set up a wage scale for yourself, because I don't expect you to just work for me for free. Tell me, what shall your wages be? Verse 16. Now Laban had 2 daughters. See, that's news. Laban, 2 daughters. Jacob was clear. We've already seen his reaction to Rachel. Va-va-voom. He's ready for Rachel. He wants Rachel. Oh. Now, Laban had 2 daughters. You know, when you bring that fact up, it's going to be like, oh no, what's going to happen? The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were lovely. I don't know. See, there's a Hebrew word there that we get translated as lovely. We don't really know what it means. But this is what the committee decided. I didn't really look at it, but if they're not sure what it means, I'm not sure what it means. And Rachel was graceful and beautiful. So I think maybe the narrator is trying to say like, well, there's nothing wrong with Leah. It's just that that's just not the one that Jacob went for. Okay, maybe that's it. Rachel was graceful and beautiful. Jacob loved Rachel. So what does it mean? This is a lot of times when we see the word love, especially when we're talking about a parent with their children, I'm talking about in Scripture, especially when we're talking about a parent with their children or with a man regarding his wife. And I don't think you ever hear about a wife with regard to her husband. But to say that they loved them is not to say like, oh, they didn't hate them. He didn't hate. No, it means that he preferred, okay? There was a preference. Remember when we learned that Rebecca loved Jacob. She preferred Jacob. Doesn't mean she didn't love her other son. It just means she preferred. So this thing about love, it's the word love, but it's not, doesn't mean love in the way we mean love as the opposite of didn't hate, or did as the opposite of hate. Okay, let's go on. Okay. Rachel, verse 18. Genesis 29, verse 18. Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel. Let me say that again. Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel. Laban said, okay, so apparently Jacob is aware that there's an older daughter, and he's clearly saying, pass on her, I'll take this one. But you said, state your wages, and so I'm just gonna come out with it and say, okay, this is what I want. Look at Laban 19. Laban said, it is better than that I give her to you than I should give her to any other man. Stay with me. Can you believe this? Laban says, he's like, it's this flattery. Oh yeah, well, I wouldn't want my daughter hooking up with some rogue person out there. So at least you're in the family. This is an easy call for me. Stay with me. So he's like, okay, we'll do that. Laban is in the midst of tricking, of a trick. He's tricking Jacob. Jacob doesn't know this. Jacob himself is a trickster. He has been a trickster. He will not stop being a trickster. So here he is being tricked. Okay. Remember, a lot of the Bible stories that we have, they're not meant to be prescriptive or even proscriptive, but they are descriptive. They are descriptive. They describe how we are. You know, we don't see a whole lot of searching for the Lord in this passage. It's a very human story. It's a comedy. it's a poking at mores even, and unknown mores of people, and what people don't say or people won't say, and that's what sets up these comedic situations. And so this is what we have so far. So Laban is going to be a bit of a trickster. It's interesting. We've met Laban before. Remember, Laban was the one that Abraham's servant dealt with in procuring Rebekah for Isaac. And Laban was a straight up dude, didn't have any. So this element of Laban being all of a sudden a trickster, or this shyster kind of a guy, it is specifically comes out with Jacob. Now, I think that there is something valuable in this, in that we can see that who Jacob is as a trickster, it's coming out in somebody else. It's like he's the one who gave out that, and guess what? That's what came back. So I think there is a little bit of lesson about as you do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I think somebody said that. Yeah, that's Jesus in Matthew. But yeah, we're seeing an illustration here of Laban being the way Jacob normally is. So Jacob is getting a little bit of his own desserts. Okay. All right. Let's see. Where were we? Oh, verse 20. Genesis 29, verse 20. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days, because of the love he had for her. Aw, time just flew by because he was just, this is the one for me. This is the one. Okay, verse 21. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, that I may go into her, for my time is completed." Go into her, the euphemism for the act of consummation of the wedding. And it's like, okay, I fulfilled my obligation. Let's do this. Verse 22. So Laban gathered together all the people of the place and made a feast. Notice, okay, there's going to be a big reveal that's going to happen here, but we have no indication yet that that's going to happen. It's just like, oh, he gathers all the people, made a feast. That's just what you would do. But in the evening, verse 23, but in the evening he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob. Daughter Leah, and brought her to Jacob. And he went into her. So I don't know if it has something to do with how schnockered they get the groom, or is it because she's veiled, her face is veiled, and it's dark anyway, and you don't get to see the body parts when you're before you get married. So how would he know what he was seeing? I guess, right? Let's go with that. Or he was just really drunk. It happens. Verse 24. We have this parenthetic thing. Laban gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah to be her maid. I guess the narrator was like trying to, I don't know, maybe he was trying to say that Zilpah was there. Maybe she's the one that made sure that she was covered, and that that Jacob couldn't see who it was, because why else would he introduce that here? I don't know. maybe that she was somehow an accomplice in the deceit. Maybe that's it. Verse 25. When morning came, bum-ba-da-dum, it was Leah. I love that. The way the narrator builds up this response, and it's like, and Jacob's, we kind of get it as Jacob's reaction. Leah? And Jacob said to Laban, what is this that you have done to me? Did I not serve you? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me? Jacob the trickster has been deceived, yes. Laban said, this is not done in our country, giving the younger before the firstborn. And so he's like pointing out, oh, you didn't check. He's saying, sorry, dude, you didn't check the rule book. Oh, that deal that we had, that you would get Rachel, well, there was something in the unwritten part of that deal, and that is you got to take the older daughter first. Oh, are you kidding me? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't give I got to follow the rules. Despite our deal, I couldn't go against the rules. Laban is kind of saying. Verse 27, complete the work of this one, and we will give you the other also in return for serving me another 7 years. So he's like saying, you know, yeah, how about 7 more years, and you just take both of them. Look at this, though, Jacob's response in verse 28. Jacob did so and completed her week. So a week of years, 7 years. Then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as a wife. And so, remember, he already had Leah as a wife. And apparently he wasn't doing much with her because of the fact that there was no conception during those 7 years. So he was still pining for 7 more years, apparently. Verse 29, now we have the parenthetic expression that tells us about Rachel's maidservant. Laban gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel to be her maid. So do you remember in one of our, I think it's prayer C, Eucharistic prayer C, there's a thing where we say, Lord God of our fathers, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I like to add, Lord God of our mothers, God of Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah. That's where that comes from. Because Jacob essentially bore children from 4 women. Okay, verse 30. So Jacob went into Rachel also. Euphemism, we know what that means. And he loved Rachel more than Leah. He preferred, remember what the word love there doesn't mean didn't hate, it means preferred. He served Laban for another 7 years. Now, we don't know exactly why he did that other than maybe he was just so doggone happy. But I guess he just wasn't anxious to get back. Remember what was waiting for him back home? What was happening? His brother Esau was mad at him and out for blood. Remember, Jacob is basically on the lam here. All of this that he's doing is he's trying to stay away from his brother Esau so he doesn't get killed. So another 7, sure, why not? Verse 31. And that's the end of our story, basically, that we had. That's the basic end of our story. From verse 31 on, we get Leah's children. So then all the children start to get born. And he bears children from Rachel. He bears children from Rachel's maidservant, Zilpah and Leah and Zilpah and Rachel and Bilhah. Now, this is where our story ends. this isn't the end, though, of Jacob's trickstering. Jacob and Laban are going to have some, we're not going to get these stories, though, unfortunately. The story that we will get another Jacob story next week. But think about, remember what I said at the very beginning. When people will use as a justification for their action, they'll say something, well, it's in the Bible. Well, you know what? That's not always the best defense. Everything is in the Bible. Everything is in the Bible. So to say it's in the Bible is to say something like, oh, well, the sky is blue and grass is green. Morality is a construct that we develop from those parts of the Bible that deal with that. And then there's a lot of stuff in the Bible that's like, you know what? We're just putting morality aside here. So what that means is we can't always we can't always look at our scripture from a viewpoint of morality. If we want to use as a defense the morality that we see, that's not gonna cut it. There is no defense for, well, Jacob did it, or David did it, or whoever did it. No, that doesn't matter. What that means is this. This presents a principle of interpretation. I've used this word many times, and it's hermeneutic. We all have our own hermeneutic. Our hermeneutic whereby we read scripture and we make what it means for us. There's a lot of wacky stuff out there, hermeneutics-wise. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to how we understand scripture, we have as our guide Jesus Christ. He is our hermeneutic. Now, does that mean we necessarily all read things the same? No. But we do find value in that Jesus doesn't point to people's foul behavior in the Old Testament and say, well, he did it, so it must be okay. No, he didn't do that. Jesus used examples only when they were profitable and they were something that he could defend. Anyway, I guess really that's all I have to say about all that. I just want us to understand that this is one of the reasons why it's okay for us not all to understand, to interpret the Bible in the same way, especially when we talk about us as a mainline denomination. We're a mainline denomination, the Episcopal Church, which means that most people on a big curve of things will say, oh, well, it's much more liberal. And then, no, I don't discern scholarship in those terms. I just discern scholarship as, well, it's either good scholarship or it's bad scholarship. And I like to exercise good scholarship. So we're going to see more of Jacob later on, but just remember that these Bible stories are not meant to condone our bad behavior, but they should challenge us in seeing that God isn't stopped by our bad behavior. God worked through Jacob, continued to work through Jacob. That's what's going to happen then in the bearing of the 12 sons and even a daughter. But when we, what was I saying? But when we look at Scripture, we've got to look through it through the lens of, really, it's more of a mirror than it is a look into something else. It puts back in our face, well, this is how we are, this is who we are, and it's good for us to have to deal with ourselves. It gets us to see that, we ourselves aren't perfect, and it makes us even more thankful that God still uses us, despite the fact that we're not perfect, never claim to be perfect, don't need to be perfect. Jacob certainly wasn't perfect. Our Lord is the only one who can claim that. It all comes down to God's grace then, right? And I've said this a million times. We can do nothing to deserve God's love. God's love is God's love because of who God is, not because of who we are. So that's my lesson for today. And I hope we can still get a little bit of picture of how God is in this story of one of our forefathers of the faith, Jacob. I think we'll get some more Jacob before we move on next week, okay? Anyway, blessings on your day. Bye-bye.